Hi, this is Rob Kramars, founder and president of Intelliversity. We're back here with Stroma Medical Corporation with Greg Homer, the Chief Scientific Officer and Chairman, and Doug Daniels, the CEO. As you may recall, this is a training video. It's not a solicitation or an offer to sell securities. We're teaching you a little bit more about how to raise funds successfully for your entrepreneurial business, and for the investors, what to look for in winning companies. And we had a great conversation between these takes, and I want to see if we can get some of this cool material back on video. What is it about your team that you think investors like so far?
Why don't you take that, Greg?
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered the bases. One is Doug and I have a very good working relationship, and I think people sense that.
How long have you known each other?
Just 6 months, something like that.
So you thought of the idea of the company.
That's right.
Yes.
And you brought Doug into the company at that point.
Yes, we started it in April of ’09, and it was just an R&D shop at that point.
Right.
So that didn't, how much management do you need? I mean, it's a few scientists and me. But then it got to the point where we were going to have to build a real company. I don't have experience with that. I wanted a really experienced CEO, and so would investors. And so I hired a headhunter who brought me hundreds of resumes, and I probably saw 30 different candidates for interviews. And I met Doug, and I said, "This is the guy. I mean, this is perfect."
So what was perfect about Doug?
Well, he had 30 years experience in med devices. That was big. Yes. The first 15 were with Boston Scientific. That's so he had a great pedigree.
Okay.
He had started up 2 companies. He had a lot of sales experience, so he knew the market. He knew the importance of the market. He'd raised money before. I mean, that's kind of question one for a CEO candidate in my book, and particularly for a startup. And the other thing is, I trusted him. I talked to him and I trusted him. I felt very comfortable with him. I thought, you know what, this is a guy where I'm not going to have to be watching my back all the time. And so I think we both felt that way about each other.
It's good you said that, because it's one of the things that we've taught for years now at Intelliversity is that never hire somebody you don't trust, no matter how well qualified. Trust trumps talent, and you brought that right in here.
Yeah.
I didn't cue them on this either.
He also has a lot of energy, which matters to me. I do too, but it ebbs and flows. He's just like ever-ready bunny. He's just always got energy. And the other thing is,
and you don't. You're just really.
No. I do a lot. I do a lot of the time, but I kind of wear myself out too. And he's just always ready to go. And then the other thing is that the other board members met him and loved him. I mean, we walked out in the hallway, and both of them looked at me and went, "Yeah," like that. I was so happy.
This must be a fun company to work for, don't you think? You guys are got high energy.
And it's not just that. It's also that it's for scientists. It's something really new. I mean, ophthalmics is not exactly. I sometimes call it getting underpants for Christmas. Is ophthalmics? It's just nothing real sexy, exciting about it. And so something like this comes along, and the people
Depends
who are
on the underpants.
Huh?
Depends on the underpants.
Everybody needs underpants. Don't get me wrong. But when something like this comes along, and people have been sewing underpants their whole lives, and boxers all of a sudden show up, this is something that people want to be involved in. So we've been able to have our pick of the litter for medical advisory board, scientists. I mean, that's a great advantage.
It's interesting. So share your experience so far with investors. What's worked and what hasn't worked with investors?
Yeah, let me try to take that on, because I think it's critical to anybody who's listening to this, and they are entrepreneurs and they're trying to get out into the marketplace and really differentiate themselves. And I think differentiate themselves is probably the optimal word here. How do you get away from the pack? It's a very, very difficult market right now. We hear all the time that that U.S. or the investment in the U.S. is going away, that venture capital is really getting smaller and smaller. I think that actually poses an interesting opportunity for angel investors to really get involved in high and good technologies. At the end of the day, though, the key, what makes us different is we have a very unique technology that we've been able to get a very simple message across to the average person in the street, who can then get emotionally tied to what we're talking about.
It's very interesting. Now, I want to get back to that subject, but the question is, what has been your personal experience with investors so far?
It's been hard.
Okay.
It's been very hard. I think we've had to look at it from, first we went out a wave to try to get some venture folks involved in the technology and in the company. We discovered in the process that we were probably too early for most of the venture guys because they wanted to see the actual clinical experience that we had. Since then, we did get clinical experience, but in the meantime, we decided to opt to angel investors to get us through to the next level, the next milestone.
How's that going?
Very good. I think we've had good response, and we had some things that we had to correct. And we thought that there was a perception in the marketplace from investors that they didn't understand what the market was all about. There was concerns that were coming up from angel investors that said, is there really a market for this? So it was a great source of challenge for us. And we had to really do a 180 and change the way that we were approaching the market, which was very traditional as to getting the money into the company, and say, all right, we're going to drop the gloves and we're going to tell people who we are and what we do.
What was the 180? What were you doing before that you're doing differently now?
I think we were trying to really stay stealth as far as the company is concerned. Keep the clinical evaluation process under the table all the way. Try to get the real stake in the company. We are both believers that it's all about good clinical performance and safety in the product. So it's really getting the safe and the effective aspects of our company under wraps. Well, what it turned out, the market didn't understand that you're just trying to get safe and effective. They didn't understand that there was a huge need, a huge desire, I shouldn't say need, a desire in the market to have eye color changed. So we had to change the way that we were doing business, and we did that in the last, literally since November 1st.
So what are you doing differently now that you weren't doing?
Greg, you want to talk
with
about that?
With investors?
Well, it's all part of the strategy.
Yeah, we're, in spite of what it might seem like, it's not our style to be promoters. I know it kind of seems like it is, but it's really not. Right. We're businessmen, and I'm a businessman and a scientist. I was a lawyer and then became a scientist. And so we like the data. We like to have hard data, and for us it's all about acquiring the data. So we showed the market through market surveys. We had market surveys of 2,000 subjects who were surveyed based upon their appetite for this.
This didn't work.
We were using this. No, because I think at the end of the day an investor has to have an intuition that something's going to be big. I think you can give all the data in the world, but if they don't see it in their own mind, have a vision for it, it just falls dead.
So did you change the kind of people you were presenting to when you discovered that?
No, we were approached by OC Register to give a little interview on the company. We had a big event coming up at Octane, and so companies were going to be presenting. And they had actually gone to Octane and said, what are the hot new companies presenting? And Octane said, well, you guys got to talk to this company, Stroma, because it's kind of really out of the box.
So you decided to take the wraps. The 180 is that you took the wraps off.
Opened the kimono to the public. Yes,
okay,
big time.
A big change.
Yep. And so Doug gave a great beginning interview, and it caught the attention of KTLA and several other news outlets. And then the phone started ringing off the hook, and people wanted interviews, and people wanted questions answered, and everything else. And then once that happened, it was like the wheelbarrows of money were rolling.
All right, it's very interesting. I want to go deeper into this in the next segment as to what they have to teach us as entrepreneurs about raising funds. This is Stroma Medical Corporation, and it's IntelliVersity interviewing Doug Daniels and Greg Homer. We'll be back in just a moment.